Hi, everybody. So nice to be here with you for September. Let's dive right in. The last couple of months, I have been speaking about illness, about how it's a conversation, about our perception of time in conjunction to illness. And this month, what I want to talk about is pain. So what is pain and how do we resolve it? How do we resolve it quickly? How do we resolve it full stop? So to understand pain, first we have to understand the anatomy of pain. When pain receptors are stimulated by temperature, pressure, or chemicals, they release neurotransmitters within the cells. And then a pain message is then transmitted to the brain by specialized nerve cells. These are pain receptors. Your mind can also cause pain without a physical source, or make pre-existing pain increase or linger. This phenomenon is called psychogenic pain, and it occurs when your pain is related to underlying psychological, emotional, or behavioral factors. So that starts to make things interesting. We look at just the body and how do we treat the body, but what is the root origin of pain? The prefrontal cortex is responsible for the cognitive evaluation of pain. Hypnosis helps you take your mind off the pain and override established pain signals. We can interrupt that communication from the nerve cells to the brain. You see, our bodies are equipped to sense pain and to also relieve pain, like a lock and key in the cell. That's actually where medications, how they're manufactured, is to be that key to the lock from the study of the cells and then the cell receptor. But our body actually does that without the medication. If we learn how to tap into that innate wisdom, endorphins are our body's natural painkillers. Endorphins are released by the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in response to pain or stress. And this group of peptide hormones both relieves pain and creates a general feeling of well-being. In hypnotherapy, we can drop deeply. I can put a client into deep hypnosis for pain relief, and they feel like they're floating. And to the brain, this I thought was fascinating. To the brain, whose dominant language is imagery, floating imagery equates to the brain the same brainwave patterns as being on opioids. And that was Dr. Candace Pert that wrote about that. So in hypnosis, when we use imagery, and you've heard me talk about imagery being the dominant language of the brain, when we utilize imagery and imagine ourselves floating, we can lose the sensation of pain in our body. Endorphins actually muffle your perception of pain, and they boost feelings of pleasure, creating a temporary but powerful sense of well-being. And according to the Macedonian Journal of Medical Sciences, hypnotherapy stimulates the brain to release neurotransmitters, enkephalin, and endorphin functioning to improve mood so it can change individuals' acceptance of pain or other physical symptoms. Change our acceptance of pain or other physical symptoms. So we have a lot to break down here and understand. If pain is first created in the mind, we have the ability through hypnotherapy to create pain relief through imagery. And you know that I spoke a few months back about a client showing up to our session one day that was experiencing a very debilitating and painful fibromyalgia flare. And through deep hypnosis and specific guided imagery for her and fibromyalgia, so custom work, her pain stopped. Her flare halted and her sores dried up and didn't ooze again. This session was about 2 hours, and she wrote me a week later to say that the flare didn't return. How does this happen? This is sort of atypical to what we understand when we're in a flare of a chronic condition. But we can utilize the mind's power and ability to reframe what it is that's happening, and our body responds to our thoughts. Can it be that quick? So we have to look at several points. First, our ability to create pain relief by overriding the pain signals in the brain through the hypnotic state. And second, the cause. So we can bring temporary relief, but then we have to look at, where is this coming from? What is the purpose that it's serving? Pain oftentimes represents protection or pleasure. As odd as that sounds, we have to remember that it's unconscious. So we're not going to logically make sense of that from conscious thinking and conscious awareness. We have to remember that it's unconscious and it stems from an emotional component. So how does pain represent protection? Say, for example, I worked with a client who was experiencing chronic pain in her lower back, and she would say to me, "It feels like my back is ripping apart." And as we began working together, I discovered that in her past, she'd gone through a tough split with her now ex-husband and 2 children, and there was a nasty division of assets, and her ex-husband didn't want the divorce. He didn't initiate it, so it went on for a while. It was complicated and uncomfortable. And fast forward, she then moved on with her life. She was happy. She was loving her single life, her work, raising her 2 daughters. And as soon as she started to think about dating again, making herself available to a relationship, she started having back trouble and back pain that rapidly accelerated into chronic lower back pain. And her doctors didn't see anything on x-rays. There was nothing really pointing. Obviously, there wasn't a compressed disc. There wasn't any osteoarthritis. There wasn't any rheumatoid arthritis. There was nothing logical showing in her body that would cause that pain. That's when we start really looking at the emotional component. And that's the piece that can be very frustrating for people, because if we can't see it on something, then people are told sometimes, well, it must be in your head. It's psychosomatic, but that pain, that manifestation of pain is very, very real. It's not psychosomatic, it is real. But the cause isn't a malfunction in the body. The cause is her subconscious mind trying to protect her from her inner and subconscious belief that another relationship might end up being painful if things don't work out. And could be a very painful separation, painful ripping apart, pulling apart. You hear it? So pain, in this example, the manifestation of lower back pain was the subconscious mind saying, no, 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 we're not dating. The relationships are bad. Because if they don't work out, we get hurt. This goes on for a long time. This is emotional. This was the division of assets that just was never ending, and we're pulling our kids through it. And so how it manifested, where and why was not random. It's logical in the subconscious terrain. So find the blueprint, and I get the job of being a detective, which I love. Then we find what your blueprint is. Pain can also represent pleasure, and that sounds very counterintuitive, doesn't it? It can even represent safety. And as odd as that sounds, here's another example of how your subconscious mind hears you and governs over your body. Remember, its job is to run your body. When you go to sleep at night, you're not breathing. I mean, you're breathing, but you're not telling yourself to breathe. You're not reminding your lungs to breathe. You're not counting your heartbeats and making sure, keep breathing. Okay, that's 52. Keep going. We have to hit 60. It's all being governed over by what? By what intelligence? Your subconscious intelligence. Ah. So we have intelligence, innate intelligence within us that knows how we were formed, every single cell that made us. It knows every thought, it knows every belief, and it knows your highly emotionalized incidences. And it is always trying to bring you back into balance. So, have you ever just wanted a week off? Maybe you were just tired. Maybe you've been going at it full steam, putting in 80-hour weeks or 60-hour weeks, and evenings you think you're going to rest, but you end up getting ready for the next day and you're doing cooking and tasks and jobs and laundry and so forth. And you think to yourself, I'd really love to just take a week off and read my books and have my alone time and sip tea and just rest. And then all of a sudden you come down with the flu or a cold. There are other cases, like a client that I worked with who was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis. And she told me as a child that her younger sister was the favorite and her parents would dote on the baby. But my client always felt like she had to be responsible for her sister. You're the elder, take care of your sister. Everything sort of circulated around the baby. So she always felt like she didn't matter, right? So the pampering skipped over her. So now her younger sister has to help her because her arthritis has been so severe. She can't grip things. She has trouble walking when she came to me. So now she's the one getting the pampering. She's the one that matters. She's the one that mom's calling to check on. She's the one that baby sister's coming to help her and look after her. There's a level of pleasure in that. There's a level of priority. I matter in that illness. So the illness becomes the placeholder for the conversation, the limiting belief that she didn't get pampered, she wasn't good enough to be pampered, the baby was special, I'm not special, I don't matter. So our mind works really hard to make our thoughts come true. And as a clinical hypnotherapist, I get to be that detective to help you figure out what the inner conversation is about pain or whatever your goal and desire is, and find the limiting beliefs from most likely your childhood, all of us, because at that point, we're wide open subconscious. All of the information is coming in and we're learning just to take it all in, and then we analyze and process later. So over time, it compounds and we reinforce that programming. But it all started in childhood. And some of it, not nice childhood. Some of it wasn't nice. And others, great childhood, but we still end up with programming because mom and dad's beliefs are projected onto us. And if not, sometimes it's aunts and uncles and teachers and friends and peer pressure and authority figures. This is how we learn. But when we're children, we don't have the ability to see it as circumstances. We see it as personal. This is about me. This is because of me. I'm not good enough. I'm not safe. I don't matter. Baby sister's more special than I am. Relationships had a maybe mom and dad got divorced. I don't want to get divorced. Oh, I went through a really bad divorce. Now I'm happy. My life is working. All of a sudden I have an illness. The moment I start thinking about dating again, that's not random. Subconscious mind knows what you're afraid of. Subconscious mind knows what's dominant, and it's always trying to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And pleasure can look like sabotage sometimes because in its language, it's keeping you away from that relationship. It's making sure people are coming in to help and pamper you. Starting to make sense? Your mind is extraordinary. Whenever the instructions are reframed, it doesn't judge or analyze whether or not you're worthy. It knows you're already worthy. You were created from intelligence that creates multiverses. This is not about your worth. This is about the mechanism that works. And it can work just as easily creating illness. It can work just as easily in reverse healing that illness once the limiting beliefs have been changed, once that highly emotionalized, over time reinforced programming has been reframed through custom regression work. Now we have a whole different belief set. And we have a different calibration. So body heals. We move forward. It's not scary to date. I feel confident. I feel comfortable with myself. This is the work. This is the blueprint, the roadmap. Was that pain real? Absolutely. Was the diagnosis real? I'm not a doctor. I'm not allowed to speak to the diagnosis, but if the doctor has said it's real, then it's real. Has it evolved to the place where it can't be healed? You decide. What if you decide and they don't decide? I've certainly lived through that in my own experience, being diagnosed with Hashimoto's and getting to the place where I don't have symptoms. I work with a wonderful integrative doctor and I adore her. We see things the same. We have wonderful conversations. The doctor previous to that said, well, you can't ever fix that. I don't accept that. That's not what I believe. That's not what I agree to. In the same way, healing my knee now as it progressively gets better. Where does it come from? It comes from a place. It comes from time with compounded programming that you then decide. And the subconscious mind governs the body. That illness is a way to meet the need you're looking for. It's just meeting that need in an unhealthy way. When we find out what the need is and we reframe that and we do some work getting your subconscious mind to then integrate and accept the new over time because it learns through repetition. Oh, well, then that looks like healing. That looks like something that they can't explain, and they say, "Oh, good. Well, then maybe it was something off here or there. We can't explain it." Yes, we can, but it's subconscious terrain, right? We've got innate intelligence and access to problem-solving intelligence. That's superconscious mind. But first, it's understanding the service it's providing for you and by you. That illness is created for a reason. Your mind is extraordinary. And sometimes we're actually mentally punishing ourselves for something we've done, maybe that we feel guilty for. We feel guilty about something in our past. And our bodies create aches and pains and punishment because we're carrying around this enormous guilt. And we feel we don't deserve to be happy, healthy, living a great life. Emotional pain representation. Sometimes we're creating safety. My partner can't leave. They'll have to take care of me. My family will prioritize me. I'll matter. Emotional pleasure. These things make sense at the subconscious level. When we look at it from a conscious level, we think, well, don't do that, not through your body. How else does your subconscious mind communicate with you when its job is to govern your body? It's only through your body. It's all so fascinating, and none of it is random. And the common denominator is you. You're going to manifest your way based on your blueprint, based on your beliefs, based on your experiences. This is why sometimes one size does not fit all when we're looking at healing. It's what you believe. And it's also, I have found, the deep secret that you carry. What you'd never want to say out loud, but you'll say to your clinical hypnotherapist, because I'm governed by law to protect your privacy. So there's never any judgment. So it's a safe place. You decide what everything means. And then your body manifests those beliefs because your mind is always trying to protect you. It is always trying to keep you safe, and it is alive and trying to keep you alive and move you towards pleasure and away from that pain, that guilt, that shame, that secret, that limiting belief that you won't say out loud. And you'll say it's something else for a while because that's easier to own. But deep down inside, there's that one that almost makes you want to cry. There's that one that hurts. There's that one that you think, I don't ever, ever, ever want anyone to know that. That's driving things. That's and that comes from being innocent as a child. So you've got to let yourself off the hook. If you're dealing with chronic pain, if you're dealing with discomfort, if you're feeling like life is just slogging through molasses every day and it's hard, then you've got thoughts around it. And it may look like it's other people, but they're really just the matching point of attraction. internally you've got belief subsets, and your mind is creating this pain as a way to move you towards your healing, as a way to move you to get back to what that need is, that emotional need that you're after. The good news is, just as your body began to break down, it can also repair and heal itself. And actually, the healing is quite fascinating too. When I studied a long time ago to be a clinical iridologist, it's amazing how things show up in the eyes first. As a clinical iridologist, we could see that it's called Hering's Law of Cure, was one of the things we studied. And it's the body heals in the same reverse. It's the reverse of how the symptoms appeared. So the most recent, all the way back to the deepest. It's logical and it's brilliant. It moves in layers. And healing is the process of recalibrating really to the truth of who you are. It's the truth of who you are. You cannot be made from the same intelligence that creates multiverses and keeps it all orbiting and in balance. And do this if you believe in reincarnation over and over and over again. And not think that you are worthy or that you matter, that you're important, that your presence is relevant. You can't have those two beliefs at the same time. You can't think I don't matter, and yet I am made from extraordinary intelligence. It's in you. It's part of you. It governs you if you allow it and you learn how to access it and work with that. So you decide. You choose. You do the inner work around your beliefs. And if you can't find them, because it's hard sometimes to see it when you're in the middle of it, and everything that we tell ourselves feels like truth after decades. It feels like, well, it just becomes a belief. But it came from childhood and you were innocent to it. And it's just compounded over time. So if your body's talking and you're not sure of the conversation, there is a blueprint there that you can walk it back, and together we can locate it specifically for you and get you feeling better. If that sounds like something that you would like to investigate, I do have a wait list to work with me. But if I can ever help you, I would be happy to. I offer a free 30-minute consult where we could have a conversation about it. You just reach out through my website. And if not, that's fine. I want you to consider the pieces. I bring these pieces out each month, not to solicit business because I'm busy, but it's to let you know that there is hope. To let you know that you are far more intelligent than you believe yourself to be. And the conversation that your subconscious mind is having with you through your body matters. So, does it make logical sense to try to shut it down? I'm not speaking ill of any form of treatment. Whatever makes you feel better, good. Whatever gives you relief, good. But as an adjunct, there is inner work to be doing there. There are highly emotionalized beliefs there that have compounded over time, and it's manifesting this way, and you can manifest it a different way. A different way to look at it is, I am so bloody powerful, and my mind is working so hard to look after me that I have manifested this. I don't know why, but I'm figuring it out. And as I figure it out, it's going to unmanifest it because I'll be manifesting what I want instead. It was all in service to you, by you. If we can really hear that and that lands and we can own that, then we're having a conversation that is so big and so relevant and so important. And there is deep contemplation there, because that, on the other side of that, is what makes you so extraordinary, because you get it. And you only need you. You have everything within you that you have ever needed. You did not come in as a baby needing later on in life. You need all of the support around you when you're a baby. You need to learn how to walk and talk and eat and survive and thrive, which is why we're wide open with our subconscious mind bringing in all the data for programming, because we need it all. We don't know how to manage here. But once we pass teenage years and into our 20s, we were always supposed to become responsible for ourselves. But society didn't really teach us that. We didn't really learn that in a way that actually teaches you that you're the powerful one, that you're the authority of you, that your mind knows the way, that your soul has a plan for you. We didn't learn any of that. No one taught us that. And so we're learning that differently now. And it is amazing to see some of the ways that the world is changing now because the younger generation knows this innately, which is why they are choosing who they study from, which is why they are choosing where they're putting their time, their money, their attention. Challenging things. It's beautiful. You are extraordinarily powerful, but there is a whole part of your awareness, your mind, your knowingness that you just haven't learned how to access, how to talk in its language, and how to have this conversation and flow back and forth so that you're seeing what's showing up in front of you and adjusting it based on what you are believing. That's the real game. I thought that was a conversation very worthy of having. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the month. Have a great show. I'll see you next month. Be well, be happy, be extraordinary. Bye for now.